I'd say there are two things that my book is trying to do. One is it's trying to offer a longer genealogy for contemporary work like Sarah's, like Art Spiegelman's, and like Joe Sacco's. And to that end, my first chapter is actually about Jacques Callot, the printmaker who did a series of etchings about the 30 Years' War called The Grand Miseries of War, that then influenced Francisco Goya in his Disasters of War series of etchings, which he did in the 18 teens. So I wanted to try to come up with a history of what it means to bear witness to war and violence through the work of the hand, right? So the commonplace idiom is that one takes a photograph but makes a picture. So what does it mean to be doing this kind of making with your eyes and your hands when you're bearing witness to war, which is what we see in Jacques Callot's case and what we see in Francisco Goya's case. So I wanted to put that work in conversation with contemporary comics. The other thing I wanted to do, and this is part of the reason I'm so honored to be on stage with you, is I wanted to try to give a more international dimension to a lot of the nonfiction comics work that is coming out. And a person I had been interested in for a very long time is a Japanese cartoonist who just died a few years ago, actually, in Hiroshima, named Keiji Nakazawa, who survived the bombing of Hiroshima when he was 6 years old. And he lived, his mother lived, his mother gave birth that day. She was pregnant, induced by shock on the road. That baby lived 4 months and then died. Several of his siblings died, and his father died. And he obviously was deeply affected by this experience, and he went on to do a comic book in the early 70s in Japan that is called Ore wa Mita and translates as I Saw It, which is a direct reference to one of the etchings in Francisco Goya's Disasters of War series, where you have an image and you have a caption, and some of the captions say things like, "This is how it happened." And one of the most famous captions about bearing witness simply says, "This I saw." So Keiji Nakazawa publishes this comic book. It's about 45 pages about his experience and his mother's experience surviving the bombing of Hiroshima. And this really changed cultures of expression in Japan and opened up comics as a form of bearing witness to these kinds of stories.